Do you have any idea what happens when a president becomes too valuable to fail? Here is a spoiler. They become practically untouchable. In this video, you'll uncover some of the most tightly guarded secrets on the planet, from briefcases that unfold into bulletproof shields to world leaders escorted by real-time fighter jets. And we're starting from the bottom, with presidents who walk the streets almost alone, all the way up to level 100, where security feels ripped straight out of a sci-fi movie. A warning, what you're about to see might change how you see power, forever. And if you think you've seen it all, wait until minute 12. That's when everything changes. The president who said no to luxury and security. Imagine being president and saying no to the palace, the official car, and even an armed escort. Sounds like a movie, right? But that was real life for José Mujica, former president of Uruguay, and famously, the world's poorest president. While other leaders collected perks, Mujica chose a modest farmhouse, tin roof, peeling paint. He drove an old 1987 blue Beetle everywhere. No escort, no sirens, no drama. And his salary? Almost all of it went to charity. It's like power never touched him, which oddly enough, made him even more respected and more exposed. The scariest part? He had almost zero protection. No bulletproof car, no armed guards, no blocked roads. He believed a leader should live like the people, risk and all. That alone would send the US Secret Service into full meltdown. And this was just level 1. Think that's wild? Wait until you see what's next. The simple life that broke presidential protocol. Some presidents treat the job like royalty. Others put humility above all else. And no one did that better than Mujica, again. But it wasn't just about his house or his car. It was how accessible he was. People ran into him at markets, on the street, in line at the bank. No security checks, no fences, no metal detectors. He even said no to helicopters, because human connection mattered more than fear. Picture Joe Biden casually strolling through Manhattan. No Secret Service in sight. Mujica believed more security meant more fear, a philosophy that turns modern protection on its head. For him, peace came from trust and transparency. Two words rarely used in politics: no electric fences, no fighter jets. But one of the boldest leaders the world's ever seen. Simple but powerful. Exposed but unforgettable. When biking with friends becomes a national security plan. In most countries, a president riding a motorcycle alone? Scandal. In the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte called that Tuesday. Known as the Punisher, Duterte wasn't into armored limos. He'd hit the streets of Davao City on a motorbike. Just him, a few friends, and a sea of low-key security. And the twist? He thought it showed strength. In his words, if you're scared, you've already lost. But make no mistake, it was all a show. Unmarked cars behind him, drones overhead, elite teams hidden across the city. A dangerous performance, rehearsed to look spontaneous. Because this president was at war with cartels and riding like nothing could touch him. Style, nerve, madness, the line between them, razor thin. France's presidential slapstick comedy. Being president of France comes with all the drama. Motorcades, sirens, and yes, guards on bicycles. But somehow Emmanuel Macron still manages to get slapped. Yep, real slaps, plus eggs, tomatoes, all in public, in the 21st century. Now imagine that happening to a US president. It'd be an international incident. Yet Macron keeps showing up face first. Because to him, human contact matters. Even if it means getting a little too close. A bold choice, especially in such divided times. France walks the tightrope between tradition and modern security, while the world watches, stunned. Because you can build all the walls around power, but it doesn't matter if the one inside wants to knock them down. Japan's fatal flaw in presidential security. Japan, known for discipline, precision, perfection, especially when it comes to protecting its leaders, or so we thought. In 2022, former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was assassinated. Broad daylight, campaign speech, crowds watching, a global shock. His security looked airtight. Agents, barricades, timed routes. But one moment, one blind spot, and it all unraveled. A shooter stepped in, pulled the trigger. That fast, that tragic. And suddenly the world realized even the best systems fail when they underestimate human unpredictability. For Americans used to motorcades and barricades, it was a red alert. Because even surrounded by invisible armies, sometimes danger is already in the crowd. The president who became his own human shield. In 2018, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro was attending a military ceremony when the unthinkable happened. Two drones armed with explosives flew toward his position, a coordinated and unexpected attack, the kind no security manual fully prepares you for. What happened next felt straight out of an action movie. His bodyguards leapt onto him, forming a living human shield, trained men using their own bodies to block death itself. A move that revealed just how real and immediate the threat was. Around them, chaos. Soldiers fled in panic. Smoke from the drones hung in the air. The message was crystal clear. Even with an army at your back, no one is ever truly safe, especially during times of extreme political tension. Maduro survived, but the image of his guards forming a human wall around him became a modern icon of presidential security, or the terrifying lack of it. Millions in supercars destroyed for the cameras. In most countries, seizing criminal assets is a legal process. In Duterte's Philippines, it was a full-blown public spectacle. Luxury cars seized from drug traffickers were gathered into lots and crushed by military bulldozers on live TV. Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, obliterated. The message? Crime doesn't pay, and here's the wreckage to prove it. It was brutal, symbolic, a performance of power designed to project control and fear. Because if he did that to cars, what would he do to people? While global headlines focused on the destruction, something else was growing behind the scenes. A massive, quiet surveillance network. Duterte wasn't just a president, he was a brand, a presence, backed by informants, troops, and drones. That display of strength, it was all part of the act. And the act kept danger far, far away. The strangest military parade on earth. While world powers show off tanks and missiles, Egypt's president Abdel Fattah el-Sisi went a different route. One military parade featured shirtless, oiled-up soldiers flexing like they were in a bodybuilding contest. Yes, you heard that right. It was like the Egyptian army teamed up with P. Diddy for a national showcase. But behind the bizarre spectacle was a very real message. Physical strength as a symbol of absolute loyalty. Despite the over-the-top visuals, these were elite special forces, trained for direct response operations. And el-Sisi made sure to show that even the look of the army answered to him. What seemed like a circus was actually choreography. Because in centralized regimes, every move, every pose, every muscle is politics. The secret team behind Pope Francis. Protecting the Pope is one of the toughest jobs on earth. He's a religious figure, a political symbol, and a global icon, all in one. Yet Pope Francis insists on breaking protocol, mingling with crowds, and walking whenever he can. His protection falls to two main forces: the colorful, ceremonial Swiss Guard, in Renaissance armor but with modern military training, and the Vatican Gendarmerie, the real brains of papal security. But it doesn't stop there. Satellites, drones, ultra-high-def cameras, even explosive detectors, all form part of an invisible, relentless surveillance system. Because protecting the leader of over 1 billion people takes more than faith. It takes science and strategy. But the biggest threat? It's the Pope himself. He refuses to hide behind walls, turning every public appearance into a test for his team. Faith moves mountains. And sometimes it moves security protocols out of the way. The briefcase that turns into a bulletproof shield. Sounds like James Bond, but it's 100% real. In India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is flanked by agents carrying briefcases with a secret, a fold-out ballistic shield, literally a transformer, hidden in plain sight. This portable protection is just one piece of the arsenal used by the SPG, the special protection group that defends the world's largest democracy. Modi rides in armored SUVs trailed by snipers, scan teams, and tactical drones. Even rooftops along his route are manned by sharpshooters, and travel plans change in real time based on intelligence. It's military-grade logistics, because it is military. The SPG was born from tragedy after a former prime minister was assassinated. Since then, they leave nothing to chance. For an American audience used to seeing Secret Service agents with earpieces, watching a bulletproof shield unfold like high-tech origami? Absolutely jaw-dropping. Because when you're leading a country of over 1 billion people, every second counts. A $5 billion palace no one dares to invade. In the heart of London stands one of the most iconic buildings in the world, Buckingham Palace. But behind the fairy tale facade and royal pageantry lies a true fortress. Valued at over $5 billion, this place is a masterclass in architecture and deterrence. Motion sensors, thermal cameras, underground sound detectors, invisible agents. It's less of a palace and more of a real-life spy agency headquarters. Any suspicious movement? Neutralized before it even becomes a threat. But the most symbolic layer of protection remains the royal guards. Red coats, giant hats, straight out of a tourist brochure. Only they're not props, they're real soldiers, trained, armed, and ready to act with deadly force. The message is clear: beauty on the outside, bulletproof on the inside. Think it's just a tourist spot? Think again. The Royal Army that doesn't tolerate mistakes. They might be one of the world's most photographed attractions. But get too close to the British Royal Guards, and you could learn a painful lesson fast. These aren't statues, they're highly trained soldiers with orders to respond, immediately and with force if needed. Their training matches that of elite military units: psychological endurance, martial precision, rapid threat response. That dead stare and frozen stance, it's not for show, it's a silent code of war. Protocol is clear. First, a loud warning. Ignore that. Expect a shove, weapons drawn, even arrest. It's the kind of discipline that rivals the US Marines. Nothing is symbolic, everything is functional. For an American audience where freedom of expression is king, watching a wrong move trigger armed response? Shocking. But that's the precision that keeps the monarchy and its secrets untouched. Kim Jong-un's running wall of security. Imagine a world leader surrounded by a dozen men in suits, running alongside his moving car in perfect sync. Sounds like a parody, but for Kim Jong-un of North Korea, it's daily protocol. These runners, as they're nicknamed, are hand-picked elite guards, trained for years to sprint in formation, scan threats constantly, and shield the most feared and fearful man in the country. But Kim's paranoia runs deeper. His routes change constantly. Hotels are secured days in advance. Even his cutlery gets chemically tested. Nothing, absolutely nothing, is left to chance. The message is clear. You can be the most powerful man in Korea, but that just makes you the most paranoid too. Vladimir Putin's personal air force. Most presidents rely on armored cars and elite security teams. Vladimir Putin takes it to dystopian levels. When he flies, it's not just in one jet. He's flanked by military fighter planes and accompanied by identical mirror planes flying alongside to confuse radar and dodge attacks. War tactics, used in peacetime by a head of state. And on land, his convoy is a fortress on wheels. Armored SUVs, empty streets cleared in advance. Agents built like tanks, moving with lethal precision. In the geopolitical chess game, Putin plays with fear, and fear protects him just as well as steel armor. The president who brings rifles to work. If there's a president who skips middlemen when it comes to security, it's Mamadi Doumbouya of Guinea. Former head of the country's special forces, he literally took power with a rifle in hand and hasn't put it down since. His usual look? Camo uniform, dark shades, heavy weaponry. No limos, just marching with his troops like he's leading a military op, not a nation. His convoy looks like a battlefield. Mounted guns, armored trucks, helicopters overhead. Even when biking, he's followed by armed soldiers in formation. To an American audience, it's like if Rambo got elected. But behind the show of force lies a clear message. With Dumbuya, there's no line between the state and raw power. Mar-a-Lago, a luxury resort disguised as a fortress. When it comes to Donald Trump, luxury and security blend into one single concept. His Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida isn't just a billionaire's resort, it's a private fortress, surrounded by agents, sensors, and cutting-edge tech that might just outdo the White House. Hundreds of Secret Service agents guard every entrance. Maritime patrols, drones, robot dogs, and facial recognition cameras. It's basically a military zone disguised as a golf club, and that's after his presidency. But Trump's real defense weapon? Volume. Most ex-presidents get around 80 agents. Trump? Nearly 300. It's as if the campaign never ended. The alert never drops. The message is clear. When controversy follows you everywhere, walls aren't enough. You need moving fortresses. And Trump built his with billions and bulletproof everything. The armored van, straight out of an action movie, welcoming Turkey's president Recep Tayyip Erdogan, is like prepping for a SWAT team arrival. His main armored van, nicknamed the Battle Bus, is part tank, part limousine. Designed to withstand explosives, high-caliber bullets, even chemical attacks. But the show doesn't stop on the ground. Attack helicopters fly overhead. Snipers take positions on nearby rooftops. And the convoy? Packed with SUVs armed to the teeth and anti-terror units on standby. All of this is necessary in a country shaped by coup attempts and terrorist threats. Erdogan trusts no one, not even his allies. That's why protection is absolute 24/7, with military intelligence scanning even social media in real time. It's paranoia on an epic scale. But in a volatile political world, maybe it's not madness. Maybe it's survival. The convoy with helicopters and snipers on the roof. Now imagine being stuck in traffic, and suddenly a convoy cuts through like a military strike team. On top of the vehicles, snipers locked and loaded. In the sky, helicopters scanning every inch of the route. That's daily life in countries where danger comes from every direction. Leaders like Erdogan, Putin, and others operate like VIP rescue missions on wheels. But here's the twist. Even in democracies, this level of protection is becoming the norm. Because today's world is more polarized, more unpredictable, and more dangerous. In the US, presidential convoys now include rooftop snipers, encrypted communications, and shield cars. Vehicles with steel plating that form a wall on wheels. This evolution in tactics shows one thing. To protect a leader today, you have to think like you're at war. Every street, every window, every drone could be a threat. The man who commands 2 million soldiers. If power is measured by military strength, then Xi Jinping is the most protected man on earth. As China's leader, he controls the largest army in the world. Over 2 million active soldiers ready to move at his command. But his personal security? Even more intense and much more secretive. Xi rarely appears without a massive security bubble. Roadblocks, thousands of cameras, electronic sweeps, undercover agents. Even his translators go through loyalty tests and strict silence protocols. During events like the 70th anniversary of communist rule, the level of protection feels like something out of Black Mirror. Missiles, tanks, drones, anti-aircraft vehicles, all rolling through Beijing like a live war game. But Xi's real shield isn't tanks. It's fear. Fear of retaliation, fear of surveillance, and the knowledge that to strike him is to strike a nation. Level 100, security that borders on science fiction. So we've reached the final level, the absolute peak of protection. And here we're no longer talking about soldiers or sensors, we're talking about systems so advanced they feel pulled from a sci-fi script. Level 100 security combines real-time AI, live biometrics, tactical disguises, and invisible satellite surveillance. Presidents in this elite circle, like Xi, Putin, and US leaders, are monitored by preemptive threat systems that detect suspicious behavior before it happens. And here's the wild part. Sometimes reality itself is altered to keep the leader safe. Fake travel routes, staged appearances, everything is built to ensure no one knows where the real leader is. At this level, the president isn't just a person anymore. He becomes a living protocol, surrounded by layers of protection so complex, not even his closest allies know the full picture. This is the end of the line. Or maybe the beginning of something even bigger.